You're watching another Nerd Stalker interview. Okay, we're live. Welcome to another Nerd Stalker interview. Good afternoon. This is Greg Gloria, aka Social Greg on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network. Today I'm pleased to talk with Microsoft's Lisa Abdulova, is the product marketing manager of Microsoft, Donald Soon, the program manager, and Alisher Saeed Ali Kudayev. Wow, I don't know. He'll have to say the name for you guys, but he's the mobile product manager at Microsoft. So, anyway, a few months ago, we interviewed Lisa about this new Microsoft Idea Lab, and it was really cool to kind of talk with her about that, and which will really kind of help connect their users with new products, and they're the developers, and so that create them. So recently, I saw one of the first ideas born called Snippet, and that prompted me to have Alisher, Donald, and Lisa online here. Now, Donald is live from China. He won't be moving, but he'll be talking here. And then we have Lisa and Alisher live from Seattle, and it looks like it's sunny in Seattle, so your karma in Seattle is showing there. So anyway, welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us here on Nerd Soccer Live from both Seattle and China.
Thank you.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah, cool. Okay. No, thank you. So let's get into this. Microsoft is doing some really kind of cool things, and like I said a few months back, we talked about the Idea Lab. So let's talk about how you guys got this, how Snippet was born through, and how it's working through Idea Lab, or vice versa, how you want to do it. Anyone could start on this one.
Yeah, sure. So before that, just for a little context for the folks that didn't get a chance to catch our first interview a couple months back. So I'm Lisa Abdulova, and as a product marketing manager for Microsoft's consumer apps and services, I've spent the last year getting to know tech enthusiast communities around the world, growing our global meetups program, and launching Idea Labs. Now, hopefully I've gotten to meet at least some of you tuning in already, or we'll get to real soon. But till then, I'm really excited to catch up with you, Greg, and also introduce you to two of my teammates, Alisher and Donald, who helped us kick off Idea Lab for the first time a couple weeks ago. So Alisher and Donald, if you want to take a little bit to introduce yourselves.
And last name Saeed Ali Khujaev, and Greg was really close. Thank you very much. That doesn't happen often to me. I am in product marketing at Bing, and I have been doing a lot of mobile work at Bing. Most recently helped launch Snippet, and as part of the launch, we thought it would be a great idea to test Snippet, this celebrity app that we put out on the App Store for iOS users actually almost exactly a week ago, to make it available to a few users before it gets released, so that we get some early feedback and early direction on where to take it. Idea Lab was a great venue for that. We talked to some great people. I'm happy to share the process, but I want Donald to first introduce himself, because he's the one in China and he's actually driving Snippet from the very inception.
Great intro. Oh, great, Donald. You're up now.
Hey guys, I'm Donald Soon. I'm a program manager in Microsoft Bing News. I'm actually based out in Beijing, China, and it's myself and a couple guys here. We basically kind of thought of this whole Snippet celebrity news app idea. The idea probably started getting kicked around like a year ago, but we didn't start development until like earlier this year. Before we wanted to get it out there, again, as Alisher had mentioned, we wanted to test the waters a little bit on Idea Labs and see, especially, I think the first comment people have is, what's Microsoft doing with celebrity news? So Idea Labs is a great way to kind of test the waters and see what the reception would be like. Are we doing the right thing for celebrities? It's all kind of an experiment and a test, and we totally appreciate the actual session we did a couple weeks back. So hopefully that's good for an intro.
Great intro. How long have you been at Microsoft, Donald?
I've been at Microsoft about 2.5 years now.
Okay. So a little bit shorter than Lisa. Lisa's been there a little bit longer. And then how long, Alisher? How long have you been at Microsoft?
3.5 years. Okay. I spent my first 2 years in Windows Phone.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we won't talk about that yet, but there was a lot of comments about that. But anyway, well, let's talk about, I don't know who wants to go up on this one, but let's talk about the process of how you now see these new app developments from Microsoft coming through Idea Lab and then enhancing them, I guess.
I can.
Oh yeah, go for it.
So I can tell you my perspective, which Lisa probably has a broader perspective given she's managing Idea Lab pipeline, and I'm sure she has other people already lining up to test their ideas and products in that form. But from my perspective, and I mentioned this to you earlier on, I think it's been simple. It's been a simple world where experimentation ruled our decision making on Bing.com. It's super easy. Anytime you launch a feature on the web, you have the ability to limit it to a certain subset of your users and see with that 5% or 10% of your user base, how does that feature interact and how does it play out? Does it improve your metrics or not? It's a very different world with the app stores, which are a lot less mature today. We should see a lot more improvement in this area of experimentation, but it hasn't happened to date, and so developers have to get by, and they get by sharing pre-released bits with their friends and family. They get by doing beta programs like TestFlight and a few others. But really, even before you get to the beta stage, you got to get some direction from people who you think are going to use your app when you launch. Because when you do launch, it becomes open to everyone. So we ran into that as well. We had a lot of users at launch who really weren't our target audience, but they still had access to our app. So not as useful as getting our target audience, obviously, in terms of the feedback we got. So Idea Lab, to me, was the holy grail of solving that problem because it gave us, people who read TechCrunch, who are really interested in the tech news, and particularly mobile. Mobile is always a hot topic. But also, we were able to find people who are actually interested in entertainment. We were able to find people who actually legitimately were our target audience, and they were also very tech savvy, on the forefront of technology adoption. So they gave us the best of two worlds. One is they gave us the perspective of the target audience, and two, they gave us a perspective of somebody who would actually read the blog post that would then be posted on TechCrunch about the app that we just released. So they helped us think through, okay, how do we message this? How do we talk about it? How do we respond to some of these tough questions, like why in the world is Microsoft doing something like that? But that was a great learning, and that was a process I would definitely go through again.
So Lisa, or Donald, when you want to talk about Idea Lab, let's talk about how this app called Snippet got born, and then how you introduced it through Idea Lab.
So Alisher and I bumped into each other in line at a Team Morale event, and I mentioned that we'd gotten some great feedback on his latest Bing Android app updates at our meetups. And I think something must have sparked then, because he reached out to me right after, asking if I could set him up with a group from our meetups to review something new that he was working on. And little did he know that we had actually just launched Idea Lab, and representing Bing, OneDrive, Outlook.com, and IE's teams. As you know, we sponsored over 100 meetups across 20 Tech Hub cities last year, and we invited these meetup attendees to apply to join a growing network of tech enthusiasts that could help Microsoft develop product ideas. And Greg, I actually sent Alisher our last interview to help him understand this Idea Lab program a bit more. So
really?
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you for helping, because after watching it, I think he went for it. Then, with our first Snippet Idea Lab invites, it was awesome because we saw 77% open rates from the folks that had applied to be a part of this, and then 56% sign-up rates for our feedback.
Wow.
Which, anyone that's in, if you're working on email marketing or whatever it is, that those open rates and those conversion rates are pretty unusual. And
Very unusual.
For me personally, it was just exciting to see people from all of these tech communities, actually want to help us. I mean, as we all know, it's one thing to give feedback and a whole other to actually consider how we could resolve whatever these, challenges are. And these people, they didn't just want to, see this new app. They wanted to actually talk business strategy with us on how we could make it into something more. And then Alistair and Donald and his team were also so eager to actually hear what these meetup communities had to say. So it was great to see all these passionate people connecting in these virtual meetups, for the sake of improving technology. And not to get overly sentimental about it all, but it was really, how much Alistair and Donald actually wanted to understand these people's feedback and build on it in their plans that made me feel like we were seeing the actual Idea Lab mission through. And then after we surveyed the participants, and they actually said that 100% of them reported having a favorable experience. So now I'm really looking forward to being able to set up the next one where we can have the ideally essentially as our product teams work on new releases and new developments, that they would turn to us for a first look at those and some we'd be able to connect them with more of their target demographics to first test these ideas with those people, but also connect them with people who also have industry expertise, in everything. What we saw, the types of people that were participating in these feedback panels were people that had expertise in mobile, in notifications, in entertainment, in startup marketing and PR, etc. And here's our way to be able to really, own that we can't do this ourselves. We need our community's help to be able to really make the most of what we can here.
Donald has to leave pretty soon. He said he has an urgent meeting with the development team back in China. So, not Donald, though. Well, you give me some of your perspective,
Yeah, let me add
development side.
So Lisa's response was excellent there. I think when we're creating these new apps, this was kind of like an alignment of stars, if you will, because we had already kind of gotten our app to a point where it's almost a finished product, but we're not quite sure yet if it's there and it's going to resonate with users. And users are the key thing with any kind of new idea, because as much as we could kind of brainstorm inside the office, hey, this will work, that'll work, we don't know until the users really play around with it. There's actually this term called a Nihito, and it's actually not Japanese. It's an acronym, NIHITO, and what it stands for is nothing interesting ever happens in the office. And that's really kind of the principle here is that, I mean, we could brainstorm all day, but until we got this in front of users, we wouldn't know if the app would resonate. And Idea Labs was perfect for that because we hadn't launched yet, but we had a finished product that was almost there. Now's the time to get what we call kind of angel users, get these guys who are kind of no mobile, no celebrities, get us some important feedback, and then help us develop some potential directions to go. Because as you guys will see, and I'm not going to get into the details about what's going to be coming up for the app, but we're going to be experimenting, 10 different directions in the upcoming months. And a lot of these directions, actually, we got the ideas from the feedback that we got from Idea Lab, so it was super helpful. And hopefully those guys know that we're listening to them. We're going to be experimenting those actual directions as well.
Well, to be honest with you, I'll jump in what Lisa had mentioned earlier of really some pre-qualified people looking at it. I'm not a lurker. I actually had a hard time even finding some celebrities to even follow because I'm not really lurking, right? but okay, I started to get creative and I said, okay, I'll go after the Shark Tank guys. So I went after Mark Cuban and all those guys, and I started to have some fun with it. Actually, I said, oh yeah, I kind of recognize these guys, and it struck me actually when I went through it that oh yeah, they're using the Bing search engine and all that stuff. So I was going hey, okay, I'm getting into this now. But it was just amazing because I if I had to look in the App Store for something like that, I probably would never pick that, to be honest with you. But because Lisa sent me the actual message and I wanted to be on Idea Lab team or whatever you want to call it, I actually opened it and gave her the benefit of the doubt that I'll like this. So.
And so what do you think? Did you like it?
It was fun. It's fun. It's actually. To be honest with you, I have a lot of news story apps that I use to call a lot of stuff that I put on Twitter. Feedly, until Google took down their their news aggregator, I would call it. I transferred over to Feedly, so I use Feedly to do all my stuff. But I have my iPad, and sometimes when I'm just like chilling in the living room or in my room, I'll take the iPad out because I don't want to go onto my laptop. And there's Snippet down there, so I'll click on Snippet and say, okay, let's see what Mark Cuban's doing today. I mean. And let's see what some of these other guys are doing. So it's just hilarious. It's just almost like TV. It's like fun to like check it out. Any new news from Mark Cuban today or something like that. So it is kind of fun in a way. I like the user interface. It seems like it's fairly easy to use. And yeah, I don't know. I like to see some of the new things that are coming out. I think that's my initial reactions. How's that?
That's great, and this is exactly the kind of feedback we were looking to get from the Idea Lab as well. So, Greg, we want you to keep participating.
Okay, as long as Lisa will keep on having me.
Oh, definitely. It was
guys before.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna have to drop off in a few minutes. I just wanted to add there that we're going to be doing almost weekly releases. So the feedback that you guys are giving us today, look out for it in several weeks' time. This isn't one of those standard products where we have to wait a month or half a year before it comes out. You'll see changes very soon. So totally thank you. Yeah.
Okay. And we won't be surprised, right? You're not going to be somehow doing something to our inbox or anything like that, right?
No.
Okay. We trust you, Donald. We trust you guys at Microsoft.
Only pleasant
surprise. All right, thank you guys. All right, I'm gonna drop off first.
All right, we'll develop something. All right.
Bye, Donald.
Will do.
Thanks, Donald.
All right, bye.
Okay.
I'll mention in response to that Outlook.com actually does not scan your email. Our ads are not tied to the content of your email.
Okay. Well, good. Thanks for that clarification, Lisa. So
Outlook.com is one of my products. What can I say?
So how many products are you gonna from Microsoft you think that Idea Lab could churn and get some fast feedback back to the developers? Do you guys see this as part of the actual Microsoft development process eventually, or is this kind of like, okay, we'll do a couple betas here like Snippet and we'll figure it out?
Well, I'm shooting to have an Idea Lab every month, but I'll alternate between whether it being a series of feedback panels for some hot and new product that someone on our team is working on, or it'll be an Ask Me Anything type of style speakers, where the next one that we'll be doing will actually be giving Ari Shore, who's a product marketing manager for the OneNote team. He'll be joining essentially a virtual meetup where our Idea Lab participants will be able to participate and ask them anything. And that can go into, as far as whatever you would want to ask someone that lays it all out. And I think OneNote is actually one of my favorite consumer-facing products within Microsoft. So I especially sought this one out because I thought it'd be an interesting opportunity for our communities to learn more about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. The way you guys were talking about how Donald had actually had Donald's team had a product developed, but then they wanted to go through Idea Lab to kind of maybe develop it further. But it's interesting though that at least as far as my product development experience, it's a little bit easier than on soft products and hard products. But developing something and then turning around, and if you went the wrong direction, man, it could be very, very expensive.
Yeah, you gotta get it. Well, I'll let Alshore speak to that because I know you're more in the heart of it right now than I am.
It can be, yeah. You're totally right, Greg. Which is why anything you do along the way to your public release is great validation, and sometimes the opposite of it. Sometimes excruciatingly painful feedback that you have to take and be like, okay, good thing we didn't actually come out with this because that would have been painful. That's not what happened with Snippet. I think we got some good direction on where to essentially focus our efforts as we iterate, but it wasn't like, okay, you need to turn around on this and go back to the drawing board. I think that's we as a company and me specifically, I'm trying to instill that iterative thinking a lot more so that your cycles are shorter and therefore your cost of redoing something is a lot lower.
Right, right. No,
Ideal Lab, we also do, of course, a very simple usability tests with 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 people. All of those happen along the way. Ideal Lab is part of that mix for sure.
I see. Wow, it's pretty exciting actually to actually see something out after our interview with Lisa on Ideal Lab. So I mean, something come out, and that's why I was pretty excited about actually trying it out and downloading. It was an iPhone app, but I put it on my iPad, so it still works. You guys mentioned that the resolution really might be a little bit compromised, but it actually is pretty good on my iPad Retina. So I'm pretty impressed with it actually. So it looks pretty good.
Good.
Some of the pictures you get when you call it from the internet can get kind of grainy depending on the picture you have. But each person that you guys picked out, I'm sure you didn't ask Mark Cuban for his profile picture, so you had to get that on the internet somewhere. so I was pretty impressed that it was, usually some of those things you pick up, like some of these like feeds and stuff like that, they can be really grainy actually.
Yeah. This is one of the things that Bing is, I would say, particularly strong at is multimedia images and video searches, and that's why I think people who come to Bing are very pleasantly surprised with image searches when they do them. So because this is built on Bing, some of those synergies just happen because we're building on the same platform that's already there.
Okay. Cool. No, I can't wait to. We'll try to do this every month, guys. If you guys are gonna release everything, we'll try another one. We'll get some people to even come on to see if the other people that I know that have tried the app and see what they thought. Give some feedback directly back to you through this program. So I'm pretty excited about that. Anything else you guys want to say about the process or about Snippet itself?
Well, for me, if after you've watched this, you find yourself interested in getting involved and applying to be a part of Ideal Lab, please visit aka.ms/IdeaLabApp. And the application just takes about 5 minutes, and then you'll hear from us shortly on what's up next, whether that's more details around timing for that AMA with our OneNote product marketing manager Ari Shore, or for future feedback panels that we'll be running with other product teams. So Snippet is our first launch, and it was fantastic, and we can't wait to see what other product teams will be able to introduce our Ideal Lab community to.
I had to put one of the cheesy applause there, but I thought you said that really good. Alisher, you want to close on anything before we close out the interview?
Yes, I would put in a shameless plug here for Snippet. If you have an iPhone, go get the app and let us know what you like and what you don't like about it, just like you did. And spread the word, because just like Ideal Lab, we want more people to use Snippet, and we want more people to be in the Ideal Lab so we can get more feedback, have more diversity, and ultimately ship better products.
And that's SNIPP3T, by the way, everyone, if they want to download that on the iTunes Store, the App Store. So, get a hold of that and try it out. I actually said it was such an easy interface. It was just kind of fun to use because it was just so easy. So I kind of like that. So anyway, yeah, I appreciate you guys' time and live from Seattle there, and I'm glad that Microsoft is doing a lot of these things. I think it shows some progressive behavior from the Microsoft team up in Seattle. So I appreciate that. So anyway, we'll close off the interview. That was Lisa Abdulova and Alisher S. I'm not going to butcher your name anymore. And Donald Soon, who was on here as well, Microsoft back in Beijing, China. So anyway, thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Greg Boria, aka Social Greg on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network. We believe in tech, startups, design, and you. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and be careful out there. Thanks, Alisher and Lisa. It was pretty fun.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, everyone.